You're listening to The Takeover, and it is time for Wellness Wednesdays with Kelli K, naturopath, joining me in the studio.
Wellness Wednesdays on The Takeover. Brought to you by station sponsor Kelli K Naturopath. Book your free discovery call today to uncover better health and quality of life.
Kelli, how are you?
I'm great, thank you. Thanks for having me back.
We are talking about something that is very topical at the moment thanks to TikTok. It's a new trend called bed rotting, which sounds disgusting.
Awful.
We've spoken about it on the show in the last couple of weeks, and it's just bizarre. Firstly, can you give us a bit of a description of what bed rotting is?
Yeah, well, from what I can gather, it's a touted as a self-care way of decompressing and relaxing, and really just where you're in bed all day and you can do whatever relaxes you in bed without getting out.
So it could be anything. It could be eating. It could be watching something on streaming. It could be, you know, if you enjoy art, it could be that.
Yeah.
But you're doing it lying down in bed.
You're doing it lying down in bed for hours or days, or in a couple of extreme cases, I've seen a whole weekend or a whole week.
Oh, my goodness.
So, yeah.
Surely taking bathroom breaks. You'd have to.
Oh, well, I assume so.
There's no catheter.
Yeah, no.
I'd hope not. That's really extreme.
Yeah.
Okay, so tonight we're talking about bed rotting from a self-care perspective, but also, you know, what it actually is in its truest form, because, you know, it might be touted as a self-care task, but is it? Like, is it actually good for us to bed rot?
Well, I think the intention is good. Like, it's great that people, particularly younger people, are really interested in self-care. They understand the importance of looking after their mental and physical health. Whether it is good for us, I guess it could be good unless you're taking it to that really extreme.
Yeah.
One of the concerns is that, you know, our body's really sensitive to the routines that we put in place and to the associations that we have with certain places or certain times of day. And so normally our bed is for sleeping.
Yep.
Right. So we build that routine and our brain understands that. And so that's really one of the important things in terms of sleep hygiene and being able to fall asleep and have good sleep quality, is that we try and get to bed at the same time each day, and that we don't do too many other things in bed, so that we keep that association. So particularly if you're someone who already struggles to get quality sleep or struggles to fall asleep, there are some really valid concerns around whether this is actually good for us long term.
Because this could be interrupting that pattern.
Absolutely.
So when you're doing other things like eating or craft or, I don't know, watching Netflix and things, not that I want to put my hand up, but definitely guilty of that, it does disrupt your body's association with the bed being for sleep.
It does. So then the next day or week or whatever, when you go to bed, your brain is like, oh, this is where we, you know, watch that really exciting show. This is where we start to think about, you know, doing our craft or whatever it is that we're doing. Yeah, which can be not so much of a good thing long term.
Okay.
Yeah.
So in terms of self-care, it's probably not actually the best option, maybe in small increments.
Yeah, like I said, I think the intention is good and the idea around it is good, but I think it's probably taking things to the extreme.
Yep.
And I don't think for most people that it's probably the best way to look after yourself.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
When we come back, we might have a bit more of a chat about this and maybe some ways to put other self-care practices in place instead, or how to sort of take the, I guess, idea and the intention of bed rotting and actually put it in place in a healthier way. We'll get into that straight after this. You're listening to The Takeover for Wellness Wednesdays on Life FM. You're listening to The Takeover, and we are in the middle of another Wellness Wednesdays with Kelli K, naturopath. Kelli, welcome back to the show.
Thank you.
So good to have you here. Tonight we are talking about something that's very topical, trending on TikTok at the moment, and that is bed rotting. And we were just talking about how even though the intention of bed rotting is good, long term it's probably not the best thing for our health and well-being to be in bed trying to do anything other than sleep, potentially. So, you know, things like colouring in or watching Netflix or Disney Plus or eating, all of those things that are associated with bed rotting, where basically you do anything but sleep, but in bed, lying down all day. And this can happen for an entire day, an entire weekend, in some cases an entire week. So, you know, as much as I was joking earlier about, you know, getting up for bathroom breaks and things, it's not a joking matter if this is affecting our health and well-being. So it needs to be discussed. It needs to be talked about. And that's why tonight we are talking about it. And I thought it would be good to also chat a little bit about some other self-care ideas or different things that we can do for our self-care that don't compromise on our health and well-being, and, you know, in that ironic way.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's important to understand a self-care practice can be anything that supports either your physical health or your mental health or your spiritual health. So any sort of activity. And often when people use the term self-care, we have this picture in our mind of, you know, a 1.5 hour massage with a face mask and
or
doing
a bubble bath.
But doing these really extreme things, or staying in bed all day and not getting out. Yeah. But really, it can be those things for sure, but it can be anything that supports our health and well-being. So it's a good idea for people to perhaps, instead of just going to the extremes and saying, I'm just going to do nothing and that's going to be good for me, is to think about all the little things that you can do. Because I really think when it comes to self-care, small, consistent practices are more effective and more useful and nourishing for us than extreme, random times.
Big life changes.
You know, spending 2 days in bed. And it's also not always about just doing nothing. Sometimes, you know, it is important for us to just stop and completely rest. But it's also about the things that we do. So whether it's like going for a walk or drinking enough water, all of those things are self-care. So what it looks like for each person is going to be a little bit different, because what each person needs and responds to is going to be different. But certainly, looking after your diet. Yep. Obviously, that's my favourite.
With the nutritional background.
You know, making sure that you're getting meaningful social connections and all those things that you mentioned as well, like colouring in, doing crafts, sewing, you know, being creative. That's a really important aspect of self-care as well, that creative expression. So you know, a lot of people, I think, get really busy. We get caught up in work and study and life, and we leave our hobbies behind.
Yes.
So I do actually think it's really important to, you know, have a hobby that fits in with our lifestyle. That can support us in terms of that self-care as well.
Yeah, I feel like we need to bring back hobbies. I feel like it's not popular anymore to have a hobby, and that's just not fun.
It's not fun. No, we need it. We need to have some fun and something that relaxes us and, you know, almost, you know, helps us to disconnect from all the noise in our minds.
Life.
That's right.
Yeah.
So to everyone, go out and get a hobby if you don't have one already.
Oh, so good. Even things like baking or cooking or gardening. A lot of people love that. Or like
a great one.
Even just indoor plants, like looking after them or singing to them if you like to, or whatever it is. I mean, no judgment. But, you know, just there's lots of different things that you can do. It doesn't have to be expensive or time-consuming. And I think that, as you say, when we think of self-care, we think of like going out for an expensive massage or spa day or whatever. And it's like, well, you don't really need to do that. You can achieve the same level of self-care by doing those other smaller things. And I think that you really touched on a good point, that there are so many things that we should be doing in our everyday life, like simply drinking enough water, getting enough sleep, you know, getting enough sunshine. Those sorts of things are important for our self-care. They are self-care anyway.
They are, and it's important that we view them as self-care so that we give them more priority in our lives as well, I think. And the consistency, I think, is key. Consistency over random big, I mean, that's fine sometimes as well, but there's no point in just doing that every so often and then the rest of the time just go and never stopping or never doing anything to nourish yourself. So and it could also be spiritual nourishment too, so going to church, connecting with your connect groups or your young adult group friends and youth group friends, and doing those sorts of things, also good for our health and well-being. For sure. Oh, thank you so much, Kelli K, for joining us again. Some great tips there. And if you've got a question for Kelli, please let us know. 04 13 90
1079. Kelli K Naturopath will catch up with you again in another fortnight.
Sounds good. See you then.